Good morning, leadership team, district professionals, and trainers. I'm Ms. Sarah Davern, in-class support special education teacher for kindergarten through sixth grade. Today's training is entitled Best Practices for Motivating Adult Learners, Understanding Andragogy to Design Effective Professional Development. I have the pleasure of advising you on the importance of understanding adult learning in hopes of planning meaningful and engaging professional development for the adult learner in our district of Elizabeth, New Jersey. I will survey and examine the following: the concept of andragogy, 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 androgyny. Identify the five assumptions of Malcolm Knowles, provide a rationale for the andragogical principles, and discuss the best practices for engaging adult learners. Andragogy, andragogy, andragogy. Andragogy is the science and art of helping adults learn. The term andragogy was introduced by Malcolm Knowles, who wanted to find out the needs and motivation of adult learners. Knowles identified five assumptions that still guide effective instructional design, and they are self concept, experience, readiness to learn, orientation to learning, motivation to learn. Malcolm Knowles' five assumptions hit on things that have to do with adult learning and its aspects. Let's talk about them more. So, one might say, why do we need to understand this? Why do we need to learn this? What is the importance of Malcolm Knowles' assumptions for learning? These assumptions guide our understanding as it concerns adult learning, allowing us to effectively structure professional development that is respectful of adults' autonomy and experience. In detail, each assumption is goes as follows. Self-concept, which speaks to the adults being self-directed and wanting ownership of their learning. Experience, adults bringing prior knowledge and expertise to the forefront of their learning, and it shapes their new learning. Readiness to learn, adults are motivated internally when learning meets an immediate need. Orientation to learning, adults prefer practical, problem centered learning. And motivation to learn, internal motivators such as growth and satisfaction drive the learning. So one might say, what's the rationale for applying andragogical principles? Application of andragogical principles ensure that professional development is engaging, practical, and relevant to the learner. Teachers need to understand the why when learning something, and then they can immediately apply it in their classrooms, resulting in an increase in motivation and retention of concepts and information. Approaching professional development within the andragogical principles and perspective at the forefront builds on culture, and self-directedness that creates reflective practices in the classroom and within the school. So one might say, what are the best practices for engaging adult learners? Let's discuss. So here are three of the best practices for creating and delivering effective presentations to adult learners. One, make learning relevant and problem based. Connect professional learning to real topics and challenges teachers face. Use data from their own classrooms, case studies, scenarios that allow participants to apply strategies immediately. Two, encourage collaboration and reflection. Incorporate opportunities for teachers to share, discuss, and reflect on their own experiences. Peer coaching, collaborative planning, and group discussions allow adults to learn from one another. Three, foster autonomy and choice. Allow participants to choose breakout session topics or make it possible for a free selection of implementation goals. Offering choice empowers adult learners and shows respect for the self directed learner, which is central to andragogy. It's also helpful to include multimedia to engage and vary instructional methods and ensure that sessions are time efficient and goal oriented. Addressing cultural biases, which is very, very much so important. So, addressing the cultural biases and gender biases is of the most important to recognize cultural and ethnic biases, whether it's the presenter or the audience. In recognizing these biases, it makes you aware of how the information is received and interpreted. Biases can shape the tone and language and examples during the presentation, which may alienate or disengage some participants. To reduce or eliminate biases, curriculum presenters and trainers and leaders for professional development should reflect on their own perspectives and assumptions before presenting. Two, use inclusive language that ensures examples that reflect diverse experiences and cultures, and also invite multiple voices and people and perspectives into discussions to speak to the lived experiences of all participants. Gather feedback to assess how inclusive and equitable the learning environment feels also. So, in conclusion, to design experiences that are relevant, respectful, and empowering for adult learners, we must understand their andragogical perspective. The application of Knowles' five assumptions of using best practices emphasizes relevance, collaboration, and autonomy, and actively addresses his biases. We can create and lead professional development and experiences that truly motivate and transform teaching practices. Thank you for your commitment to supporting our teachers through meaningful learning. My belief is that together we can cultivate a culture of growth that develops and benefits